Hi, it's Dr. Bob, and today we are at Torrey Pines. So it's an area just adjacent to La Jolla, between north of San Diego and south of San Clemente, and that area right along the California coast. This area is known for the Torrey Pines, and they are a great opportunity for us to talk about the idea of adaptability. When we look at this area, it's what is often called a microclimate because it differs from the areas around it. If you go inland less than a mile, it's a completely different climate and a set of organisms that will live there. This microclimate happens to be the perfect home for these Torrey pines. Torrey pines are a pine tree. They have often been called a white pine because they come in bunches of 4 needles, but in fact they're not a white pine. They more akin to a yellow pine, which tells us that sometimes the morphological characteristics of an organism don't give us the best indication of how it fits. But most importantly, these pines have adapted to this microclimate in a unique way, and this is one of only a couple of places, all of them right here in this area. There's also an island off the coast, 2 islands actually. Santa Rosa Island has Torrey pines as well, but even those are a slightly different adaptation than the ones that we see here. These pines have adapted to this climate with some unique characteristics. They can tolerate extremely low levels of water and infrequent watering. In fact, most of the water here comes from the fog that comes in from offshore. So these Torrey pines, they will actually, when the seedling is only about 6 inches tall, will grow a taproot that's as long as 24 inches that will go down through crevices in rock and in search of moisture and nutrients. As they mature and grow older, they will develop a root system and go out as far as 250 feet. So they're unique in that characteristic among pine trees. That adaptation then is another example for us of the type of information that God has placed within the genetic code of each of His creations that allow them to adapt to the environments that they are in. You'll often hear people talking about evolution, but these pine trees, they don't become anything but a pine tree. They just become an adaptation of a specific pine tree that works in this type of microclimate and this ecosystem. And that's exactly what we see in the flood record, is a record of all of these different ecosystems all captured in that one event of the global flood. So you will see organisms that differ from each other even prior to the flood, because of the climates or the microclimates that they developed to and adapted to exist in. We get a chance to see that here in this environment. There are other organisms that grow here that are unique to this area as well, but the Torrey pine is the one that's the most famous. This is the rarest pine tree in the United States, in North America, and one of the rarest trees in the world. Unlike the bristlecone pine that we saw previously, this one, in spite of its gnarly look and the way that it clings to these rocks, which is very similar to a bristlecone pine, they live to only be about 150 years. Another interesting characteristic of that adaptation, because you'll see this gnarly trunk and these kind of bonsai-looking trees, but if you were to take one of the seed pods from a Torrey pine and plant it in a good environment, they grow tall, beautiful 150-foot tall trees. So the environment has caused them to develop these adaptations, and they are tenacious in their ability to gather moisture, to live in extreme climates. As they fracture rocks with those roots, sometimes you'll see them hanging off the side of a cliff even. But it's a beautiful little microclimate right here near San Diego. And this is Dr. Bob again telling you it's okay to believe, and when we look at this evidence, we can see evidence of God's intelligent creation and the amazing amount of information that He packed into the DNA of each living organism. So once again, Dr. Bob from Torrey Pines, California.